All right, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation surrounding Furiosa is an interesting one, and I spoke about this on Hypnocast, but I wanted to make a more dedicated video on it because I got to be honest with you, man. What's happening with Furiosa is quite hilarious because there is a lot of cope. There is a lot of cope. I'm talking massive amounts of copium being spread around about this movie, and the whole reason why is because the wokies apparently are trying to latch on to this movie as some sort of like shining star for female leads, and it's so weird because nobody was speaking about this movie on a grand scale. Nobody was thinking this movie was going to make a massive amounts of money. And then when I saw the budget for this film, the first thing I thought of is why the hell would you have a $100 and nearly $70 million budget for a film like this that isn't even starring Mad Max? It's a Mad Max movie without Mad Max. It makes no sense.
No shame in hate. It's one of the great forces of nature.
But again, the wokies don't quite understand that because they've essentially latched on to the idea that because Barbie was successful, then every other female leading movie can be successful as well. And that's just not the case. Again, this goes far beyond any kind of wokeness. I don't know if this movie is woke, and I honestly don't care, like I said in my stream, because I'm not going to see this movie. This movie literally interested me 0%. I did not want to see this movie. I didn't go see the previous Mad Max movie. It's just not for me personally. I just don't care. But the point is that even if it's woke or not doesn't matter. When you are looking at the grand scale of things and you really break down this film, you'll realize very quickly that it was going to be a massive failure regardless of whether or not it had a female lead. It doesn't matter. This film just was not set up the right way. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Part Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So we got a headline that reads, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga's box office disaster, serves as a stark warning for Marvel's Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts. Furiosa has wildly underperformed at the box office in its opening weekend and serves as a stark warning to the upcoming Marvel Studios productions. According to the numbers, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, only grossed $25.5 million in its domestic opening weekend. It grossed another $33.3 million at the international box office for a worldwide gross of $58.8 million. Now, the cope that I'm seeing online about this film, all of it, literally all of it, has to do with it being a female lead. That is literally it. What they're trying to say is that you have all these wokies melting down and yelling at people, literally yelling at people on Twitter about the fact that nobody's seeing this film. And they're like, oh, why are you not seeing this film? This film is a 10 out of 10. It is amazing. It's one of the best films of the century. Why are you not seeing this film? It has a strong female lead. This just proves that you don't want to support female leads. It proves that we live in the patriarchy. It proves that you're all misogynist. Like, it is crazy the amount of melting down that's happening. It says, based on an estimated production budget reported by Variety of $168 million, it's highly unlikely that the film would come anywhere close to breaking even at $420 million. Not only is it unlikely to break even, but the film failed to even meet low-end opening estimates. Box Office Theory predicted the film would bring in a minimum of $46.5 million domestically back on May 16. Clearly, the film did not do that. That is pretty bad, man. Box Office Theory usually is very good at predictions, and to be that off, $20 million off, that is fucking insane. That is a massive difference. But again, guys, think about this for a second. This is a Mad Max film without Mad Max, right? Number one, that's immediately going to not do very well. I mean, I gotta imagine that you are not gonna have the same kind of fan base that you probably did with the original Mad Max film. Number two, you are spending very high. Okay, this is very high budget. This is almost Marvel's, like the Marvel's level budget, almost, right? Like it had a $200 million budget, the Marvels. This film, $168 million fucking dollars. Who in their right mind would spend that much money on a film that's already technically, if you want to be really technical, a very niche kind of film? Why would you want to spend that level of money? This is the issue. You can make these niche films. There's nothing wrong with that. You can make films like this. You can make a Mad Max film that doesn't feature Mad Max. Perfectly fine. But perhaps not spend more money than the film that actually featured Mad Max, right? Like the film that featured Mad Max spent less money than the film that didn't feature Mad Max. And you mean to tell me that you thought that this was going to make more money? Like, and that's just, who is convincing these people? That's what I want to know. Who is out there in Hollywood genuinely telling these people, with great salesman skills, mind you, that you are going to make more money by taking Mad Max out of the film? That just doesn't make sense. It says this poor performance at the box office is a stark warning to the upcoming Marvel Studios films such as Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts, given that Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is billed as a Mad Max film, but does not actually feature Mad Max. Pop culture analyst and critic Gary Butcher of Nerdrotic noted that this while reacting to a headline from IGN that blares Furiosa, why the Mad Max movies don't need Mad Max anymore. And actually, I remember this. I remember this headline a while back when they were first talking about it. Why the Mad Max movies don't need Mad Max anymore. And Nerdrotic says, turns out they do. And it's great because you know what? This is what they do. They take the male lead out of a movie, right? That a lot of people love. They take the male lead out of the movie. They inject a female lead, and then they immediately expect it to succeed because they spend their entire lives virtue signaling to females and non-white people. It's as if like you got to understand after a certain point, when the fuck are we going to talk business, right? I'm so sick of this shit. All this wokeness and all this dumb like idiocy. It's really, honestly, it's not even wokeness anymore. It is just bad business practices. It is literally people out there convincing people who have money, hey, this is a great way to spend it. This is a fantastic way to spend it. Let me explain to you why it's so great. And they got to have great salesman skills, because how are you convincing all these people to blow money like this left and right on projects that are never going to make that money back? Anybody with a brain can see that it was never going to make that fucking money back. Never. It says, and that is a stark warning that the film's disastrous opening weekend sends to Marvel. Do not make films build with a character or team without the actual characters or team in them. Nevertheless, this is exactly what Marvel Studios is doing with their upcoming Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts film. Yeah, the new Captain America film, I would be very curious to see how it does. I would, because they're going to try to bill it as the next Black Panther for Black people. They're going to try to say, you know, if you don't go see Captain America: Brave New World, then you're essentially not Black. That's really what it's going to be. So I would be very curious if you're going to have a bunch of people show up in suits and do the whole Wakanda Forever signals like they did with Black Panther, as if it was a thing where everybody was talking to each other as if they came from Wakanda. It was just the weirdest fucking thing. But I would be very curious to see if that happens. Captain America: Brave New World does not feature Captain America in the film at all. Instead, it features Sam Wilson, Falcon, pretending to be Captain America. And if Anthony Mackie is to be believed, the film is apparently eschewing any form of comic book style storytelling by getting of good versus bad. He told Entertainment Weekly, this movie is a clear reset. It really establishes the idea of what this universe is and what this universe is going to be. I think with these movies, you're getting a clear new branding of what Marvel is headed towards, the same way they did with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I have literally zero interest in seeing this stuff, and it's so sad, man, because I used to be so excited to go see the next Marvel film many years ago when everybody was watching the first 3 phases. I was super excited to see any film, and now I just have zero interest because I already know what they're going to do with it. They have went full on. It was weird. It was like phase 4 flipped the switch, right? Phase 4 flipped the switch and just made everybody into retards. I really don't know how else to explain it other than that. But in terms of Furiosa, the cope is amazing and they're all trying to melt down over it. But at the end of the day, if you really think that people are just as superficial as you are and are only going to see a film because it has a female lead in it, then you are fucking stupid. And you really need to readdress where you are in life, because your superficial nature is not how many people are. Not everybody cares about superficial values like that. I'm not going to go see a film just because it has a male lead in it. I've seen films with both kind of leads in it, but I want to go see a film that's going to interest me. And if the entire marketing around this was, hey, female lead, then you got to wonder why people probably didn't go see it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.